91 tonight. We've done this a couple of times before.
You guys got to be quiet back there, though. We can hear everything right up here.
Number 91. How amazing is that? When do 91. We quit? At what number do I stop doing this?
1,000.
Ooh, I'm going to be an old man.
1 million
I'm getting
shows.
younger every day. Where's my notes? And you got a pencil?
Yeah.
I need a pencil.
There's a pencil right here.
Use mine.
I don't need yours. I got one.
All right.
We all have pencils. Show number 91 tonight, guys. Let's have some fun and make it look like we've done this before. I love this part because this is where we get the pre-edit stuff, which is always fun to watch.
Yay.
Tons of notes going on tonight. I can't wait to take you guys to Trainfest. This is going to be fun.
I'm
all
looking forward to
the whole crew here is going.
Austin Allard, yell out really loud and give us a countdown, brother.
1, 2, 3.
That's great. This is the What's Neat This Week, show 91, and tonight I've got all my special cohorts with me, the best of the best. Plus, we've got a brand new locomotive from Athearns, number 1111, the most beautiful locomotive I've ever seen the railroads paint up to date. Plus, we've got some great stuff with Thomas. Mike brought a vehicle. We got the Wonder Cutter. We got laser cut kits. All kinds of great information on this show number 91. The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Additional support is provided by Athearns Trains. Check out all their new monthly announcements at athearn.com. And by Micromark, the small tool specialists. Visit their website and use product code WNTW at www.micromark.com/WNTW. Also by Trainfest, America's largest operating model train show since 1972. Check out their website and show dates at trainfest.com. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week show / podcast number 91 for October 5th, 2019. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, the host of the What's Neat show over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. I love to say that because that's a fun show to produce. And tonight I've got with me Mike Budde. I love Michael, but Mike sounds good. I got Joshua Sugarfire. I just cooked 32,000 pounds of meat in the last 5 days. Barton.
What up, everybody?
God, you're a busy man.
I am.
And I've got James Regier, who spent a lot of nights last week on the bluff with me, and we made a great segment coming up in the November video about your LED lights. I can't wait to talk about that on the show tonight. There's so much neat stuff going on in the hobby. Do you know how I know that? Because the weather has actually started cooling off. We're in the 50s here at night in St. Louis, and that means it's model railroad season. I can feel it. This is when the hobby gets busy for all the shops, and things start percolating towards wintertime when we're all starting to work on our layouts again. So rock and roll. Let's start this show off with, I went to the grocery store the other day and I picked up Model Railroader magazine. And inside the magazine this month, and I don't have it to hold up because I actually only bought 2 magazines, is Bernard Kempsky. Did I say it right? Bernie Kempsky. I love this guy. He models the 1800s, which is so close to the narrow gauge modeling that I like to do, but he models standard gauge. And there's an absolute fantastic expose in this month's Model Railroader magazine on his work. Full color all the way through. I thoroughly enjoy his work, and I wanted to give him a shout out because he deserves it. Absolutely. Also, I've got in my list here is Model Railroad Craftsman came out, and I picked that up at the grocery store too. And inside Model Railroad Craftsman this month was a great article on the St. Louis RPM meet, the Railroad Prototype Modelers Meet, which we just had in St. Louis not too long ago, and that makes up the entire October's What's Neat video at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine.
That's funny you say that because that should be dropping any minute now, it looks like.
In fact, Joe Fugate
dropped last night.
Joe Fugate just came out with that video about 14 hours ago. Yeah. And I want to say thank you so much to the readers' comments. Everybody's been super polite, super kind, and very complimentary about that presentation. Daniel Coombs is down here floating around, and he and Joshua Barton helped me narrate and do all of the interviews at that show. And by the way, we got some compliments that said you guys were all really good at your interviews.
Thank you very much, everybody.
I know you did Exact Rail, right?
I did, yeah.
And Daniel did Athearn, worked with Chris Palomares.
Yeah, that was a great interview.
Daniel
you
did
did a really good job.
fantastic on that. I'm looking at the clock because we didn't start the stopwatch on this show.
We'll start it now and fake it.
Another thing that's in this Model Railroad Craftsman that I really want to bring up tonight, and I'm going through my notes really quick, which is cool, and that is NCE has got a full-page color ad on, where is it on the table? It's in the box. I took it, there it is. I know. This is a really cool device from NCE. Hold it up, Joshua.
Yeah, the Switch 8.
It's called the Switch 8 MK2, made in the USA, preferred and easy to use to set up to operate 8 of your turnouts on your layout. Every time I do an NCE spot on the show, we're always talking about the throttles and how great they are, because they are, and because we get to use them every single day. Even Mike likes using them. But the fact is, they make a range of products so much beyond just a throttle system, just beyond a DCC system. They make all of the components that you need to operate your model railroad layout. And tonight, in this full-page ad, we're talking about this MK2 Switch 8, which will operate 8 of your switch machines, tortoises, slow motion, or the hostess machines. It'll work with both. But something else I've got in my notes, which is super interesting about this, was that NCE has got something where Kyle Murphy powered up this GP15 locomotive. This is an Athearn locomotive that's ready to roll, but it doesn't come with sound. It didn't come with a decoder in it. But Kyle put this D13J decoder inside the locomotive. Do you have that? Yeah, there's
do,
that.
right
There's-
here.
It is, right.
That's the paperwork
right.
from it. I gave Kyle 4 of these decoders last week, along with another GP15, because he's such a cool guy. I just gave it to him because I like him. But the fact is, he showed us how to install this. He actually took the couplers and everything off of the locomotive. And then guess what? The installation was only a 9-pin plug. It took less than 10 seconds of video to shoot that. And then he's putting the couplers and putting the locomotive and the shell back together again. He literally did the decoder installation in less than 45 seconds.
Wow.
But judging from his smile and the thumbs up, everything worked. We got to push that shell, the cab down a little tighter in this clip. It looks like it's coming up. But the fact is, what a simple solution to go from a DCC ready locomotive to a fully functional DC locomotive where all the headlights and everything works. You didn't have to do the wiring that James Regier did for the LED segment that we're going to talk about a little later in the show. It's super simple. Thank you very much, NCE, for sponsoring the What's Neat show. I really appreciate what you've done for all of us, not to mention we got to learn about all of the systems. It's great, and we love that.
And I just want to put out there that the 4-pack of these is only $75, and that's what it says right here on the packing. And that's a really decent price, especially if you're doing a ton of different cars, and don't need the sound in any of them,
I love it when things go quick.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to talk about something that you did, James Regier, and that is in the November What's Neat, and I'm going to talk about that right now. You did a LED installation where you installed 21 LED lights in the F45 locomotive, which is on the table. Yes,
It's
now?
on your layout. In
It's
fact,
on the layout.
it's
Okay.
on the layout. So I took the locomotive. I replaced the headlights. They were the old Athearn bulbs, and I replaced them with LED. And then I added LEDs into the number boards. Actually, modified the number boards to permit that. Then I added LEDs into the beacon. And then all the courtesy lighting, ground lighting, step lights, all of those things. And so that thing's lit up really
It's
nicely.
pretty amazing.
Wow.
I just uploaded that video yesterday to Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. And in fact, in the last 15 hours, as we said before, the October What's Neat at MRH has just come out. And in that video, we cover the RPM meet, the Railroad Prototype Modelers meet that happened here in St. Louis. I've got 7 manufacturers that we interview in that video. I've got 1 historical society and 3 of the most amazing modelers that exposed their work at the show. I put a microphone in front of their face, and they did a great job. Joshua, like I said before, you and Daniel Coombs each had your part in creating that video. And according to readers' comments, one gentleman said, all 3 of us did a good job.
Well, good.
So we really appreciate that. That makes our job easy and fun to do when we get compliments, because it's not about the money, it's about just getting the job done correctly.
And that RPM was a lot of fun, even though I was barely able to hobble around that weekend, I tell you what.
Also, yesterday I uploaded the November video, which, James, that's where your decoder, your LED segment will come out, which is 15 minutes long in the middle of the video. To open the video is Rad McGwire. Rad came by my property here on the bluff the day before the RPM meet, and he shared with us his military load modeling. And one of the most amazing things that I never thought about before was how Rad pointed out to me there's a very big difference between military loads on a flat car and military equipment out for the field, out to do its duty. In other words, when they ship them on flat cars, all of the guns and all of the things like that are boxed up in crates. And in order to model it that way for a load, you've actually got to do it that way. So hats off to Rad for pointing that out to us. And also, Pete Wallinger. I know, eyes on trains, y'all.
That's right.
That's
eyes
right.
on trains.
I love Pete. Pete's got a great segment in that video where he shows us how to use stencils to create graffiti on our freight cars, which is a little bit different than hand painting stuff. Using stencils is where you carve out all the logos and designs ahead of time on cardboard and then simply spray paint over the cardboard to make the final product. And he used 2 stencils to make this auto rack. We had 3 cameras rolling during this segment, and it came out really good. You and me, Joshua.
Yeah, what a fun segment to tape. It was really neat to see him just have nothing and throw something to get together in just a few minutes. You know?
Pete Wallinger's got quite a reputation, and I will tell you, and I can't allude to it, I'm not looking at you, James, but you know what? I've heard in town in St. Louis in the last 2 weeks, there's a large museum in St. Louis that has commissioned him to do a project for them, and he's invited me to help him with it. So look forward in January or February is what's neat, where we're going to show something really cool with regards to, you know, really cool modeling going on, actually a layout and a whole bunch of neat stuff on this layout. So I told you that we'd get Pete involved in the hobby. I didn't know he'd get paid to do it, but it's turning out that way. So I look forward to working with him on this project. So James, go ahead and take it away. I know you've got some stuff you want to talk about tonight.
Well, so the one exciting thing that I'd like to talk about is the Magic House is having a Thomas the Tank Engine adventure display going on from now until January 6th. And Thomas the Tank Engine, of course, Island of Sodor, you got all these different locomotive characters telling different stories. And for this display, they have a Thomas that the kids can climb on, they can explore the firebox, they can pull the levers in the cab. They have a Percy that the kids can actually work on the wheels or work on the mechanics of the locomotive, but also explore feeding it coal, feeding it water, how an actual steam locomotive works, and sort of explore that. They have a table of wooden railways that the kids can design and build different segments. They've actually left them out on purpose so that the kids can put them together and make them work, practice their engineering skills, but they're playing so they don't know that they're learning, which is a wonderful thing. This display is sponsored by Fisher-Price and Mattel and 3M, and locally it's sponsored by the Gray Bar Foundation.
That's amazing.
So,
yeah, sure is.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of great stuff, and of course, a key part of the display is they do show the history of the Thomas the Tank Engine show, and they show all of the prototypes behind the Thomas locomotives, because each of these locomotives actually has its real life prototype. Now, for this, I actually decided that the layout, the Canfield Station layout that we saw in July's What's Neat, I think it was, needed to have a Thomas on display because, you know, Thomas comes in HO, Bachmann made them, and so I went out and I found one, and I installed a TCS Cam4 decoder. The keep alive being very important in a locomotive with that short of a wheelbase for reliable operation. I'm pleased to say he's been working for 3 weeks solid now, and not a hitch. Wow. So that's been working out very nicely. So yeah, it's a neat display. I'd also like to mention that if you donate to our transportation museum, they're a good friend of the show's. One of my favorite places to take my daughters, actually. If you donate $25 to them, they will actually throw in a free admission to the Magic House to see the Thomas display, and that's while supplies last.
Wow,
so,
I had no idea.
That's very
It's
cool.
fun going to that place. Didn't we go there in February?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it February we went there? We shot a show
It
and
was
shot a lot of
way
clips there.
cold, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
recall we had
National
Michelle in
Museum
town.
of
that
Trains.
I
week.
was not with you at the time, though. Yeah, I think I was there like the day after or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, it was awfully cold that day. I remember that.
Yeah.
We should have gone this summer, but we
Yeah.
didn't. So
Well, it's not that cold yet.
I
I'll go
understand
back.
that's no longer owned by St. Louis County. That's a private
No,
entity.
it
so
is.
they've got to sink or swim based on cash flow at
Yeah.
this point.
and they are definitely restoring quite a bit of stuff there.
Really?
I've got the name
Yeah.
Chris Palomares in my mind right now. Y'all remember Chris from Athearn. Locomotive magazine, I picked this up at the grocery store as well. And the cool thing about this magazine is it keeps you updated every single year that Kalmbach comes out with it on the current locomotives, the status, what they're called, what they are. This is a magazine that I get so that I'm on the phone with Chris. I don't upset him because I don't know what a Dash 9 is or an ACE or a ES44. I mean, I'll tell you what, beyond SD40-2s, I mean, that was my cutoff.
Right.
Chris has a real problem with me messing up those names. So this is the material that I like to get so I can study and understand that information. So thank you very much, Kalmbach, for coming out with this awesome magazine. This puppy's $9.95, but it's worth the education material that's in it. Which brings me to the point, and it's not on the table, guys, but if you've noticed, James Wright and on this show, we are announcing right now that Athearn has come out with 1111. That's that beautiful locomotive that Union Pacific had painted up in honor of their employees. In fact, the words, "powered by the people," are printed on the side of the locomotive.
Yeah.
This is the one only locomotive that I actually had to shoot from both sides of the hood on this one, because it's different on both sides, and I showed it to you tonight, Mike.
Right.
Right.
How beautiful was that model?
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty-
you got some beautiful night photography of it all with
Yeah.
the LED headlights and ditch lights all lit up.
Right.
That thing is a gorgeous locomotive.
I shot a lot of outdoor still photos on it, Mike. You saw the windmills that are on it, the power generators. I saw the architectural, the engineering people,
All the different
people
jobs
dressed in
that,
suits,
yeah,
all the different
Union
kinds of
Pacific
jobs are
employs.
categorized and completed and painted on the side of this locomotive. What a beautiful rendition. I've also got video of it running from both sides that I supplied Athearn with, because this is a very difficult model to cover because you do have to cover both sides. The detail is in the paintwork, and the paintwork is exquisite on the prototype.
Oh, the red stripe that goes down the
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
racing
top,
stripe.
Yeah,
That is impressive.
Who
Yeah.
even sees that?
And the cab, the top of the cab pops off, so you can do some more detail
Yeah.
in there for the.
That's nice.
So you'll definitely want to catch this unit from an overpass if you
Yeah.
see it.
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, pre-order your models at athearntrains.com. This one's going to sell out.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is an absolutely gorgeous piece. It's very similar to 1943 when it comes to the historical value. Actually, today on cable TV, I saw on the History Channel, I believe, no, it was on AHC is what it was. They had a program about the George Bush locomotive. I don't have any B-roll to shoot, but they really covered that locomotive, including the baggage car that had the casket in it, that had the great big plate glass window on it. That was quite an amazing deal where Union Pacific worked with the government to pull this off. I think they're putting that locomotive inside the George Bush Memorial Library,
I
are they?
believe they are.
Well, yeah, and in fact, in this month's What's Neat, you talked with Rick Dakota Kennedy,
Right.
with his
Yes.
models,
Models,
of, the,
exactly.
of that train, and
Yeah.
he's done an outstanding job recreating it.
Yeah,
Rick
the-
Dakota Kemp's got 7 minutes in the October show where we interview him, and he goes into great detail showing how he built the casket, how he built the baggage car, and set it all up to look absolutely prototypically correct. And he had a lot of different people from the military contact him and say they wanted a picture of it. So he's got a picture where the Marines are standing guard, where the Army is standing guard, and every time there's a different colored guardsman standing guard on the train. He literally said that this is the one model where you can model a moment in time literally by the hour,
Yeah.
and it never repeats itself.
Right.
So hats off. Thank you very much for that. Mikey, you brought a really beautiful model.
Yeah. First, I wanted to give a shout out to Antonio de la Cerda. He
From Mexico.
Yes.
Yeah, we were talking to him earlier.
Yes,
Yeah.
He lives in San Diego, but he goes down to Mexico to the train shows a lot, and he sent us some footage of the Acambaro show earlier this
Yeah,
year.
very well pronounced, Mike.
Very
That's
good
right.
job.
And then the same weekend as Trainfest, November 8th and 9th, there's a show down in Querétaro, Mexico. It's spelled with a Q, but it's Querétaro.
Okay.
And he's going to send us some footage from that. There's some
Nice.
pretty talented modelers down there in Mexico.
Yeah,
So,
because
Oh, yeah, for sure.
because we will all be at Trainfest, by the way.
Right.
Yes, we
Yes, we
will.
will.
And in fact, 2 weeks, we're going to have Ken Jaglinski.
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 Yes.
I
Yeah.
got it, Ken.
Good job.
We're going to have Ken. We're going to have you on the show in 2 more weeks to explain all the details about Trainfest that's coming up. We are all going. In fact, all of us at this table are going to be there.
That's true.
And you're bringing your wives.
Yes.
Which
Yep.
is going to be fun. But the fact is, we're recording a show on Saturday. That's going to be the 9th of November at 2 p.m. on the center stage of the show. We're going to broadcast the What's Neat This Week show. I don't know which number that's going to be at the time, somewhere in the 90s, mid-90s.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday at 11 a.m., we're going to do a live show. We're not going to record this show, but it's going to be a question and answer with the audience. It's going to be our chance to intersect and have conversations with the people, our friends, our model railroaders. So come up and say hello, ask us questions. We're going to be ready for that.
Yeah,
it's going to be
fun.
kind of fun.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that. And I believe on Thursday night, I'm doing a fundraiser. I'll have more details about that on next week's show. And in fact, next week's show, I'll give you addresses, places to go. You can check it out on the Trainfest website at trainfest.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of information there. This is going to be a 225,000 square foot show. They're going to have 53 clinics, a lot of layouts, a lot of vendors. This is the biggest show in the United States, and it's going to be in November. So look forward to it. Please come up and visit with us and say hello, because this is something we really look forward to, is the interaction.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you very much, Antonio, for sending us all that footage, and we look forward
Right.
to this new footage that he's going to send us.
Now, this belt truck I was going to talk about.
Did we
Yeah.
not even talk about
No,
that?
No,
didn't,
we
so-
skipped the Trainfest.
Yeah.
So I was,
We're just alluding you to the truck. 'Cause
Check
it's
out
so
this. I saw it on
cool.
Facebook. The weathering's awesome. Mike, tell us about this.
oh, it's just a Southwestern Bell pole digging truck. It's an
Just,
Athearn
It's just.
cab
Just,
and on an Athearn frame with a scratch belt utility body, and the lift is from a Boley model with the pole digger on it.
the stack of cones on the back of it is
Yeah,
so cool.
that's-
The little
Yeah.
orange lights by the front windshield
Mhm.
that are on the hood. I mean, all the little details are there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
it's been really incredible watching this come together in the photos
Yeah.
on Facebook, and
Mhm.
a little drop every few days that we'd see what progress is coming along. and
Definitely
it's-
kind of teasing us, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm on to my next project. It's another bell truck, but then I'm doing a Central Georgia boxcar too, a 50-foot boxcar I photographed in 1984, and I've always wanted to build a model of it. And I found a source for the decals, Mask Island decals, Hubert Mask. He has a
Okay.
lot of neat decal sets, but he has this set for this Georgia, Central Georgia safer shipping boxcar.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm going to have to
Nice.
cut down a Athearn 60-foot PS1 boxcar into a 50-foot. So we'll see how that project goes.
That's
Okay.
awesome. I remember Rand Hood sent me some material. He's working on his new layout now, but I didn't fetch the material out of the computer tonight, so I'm going to talk about it next week. But Rand Hood, rock and roll, man. Thank you for getting back into the hobby. The What's Neat show.
Absolutely.
We brought you
Thanks
back
for
into
watching.
it, and I'm so
Yeah.
happy
Yeah.
we can do
Yeah.
that. I know. Is it red or is it green? I know. I love the chili. The chili's awesome.
So speaking of people from Colorado,
yes.
I heard you had Kevin Ruble over
Did you
here.
guys like last
Yes,
week's
I
show?
That
saw
was a
that.
great
It was a-
show.
Kevin
Yeah.
Ruble
Yeah.
It was a
stopped
good
by.
conversation. Yeah.
He stopped by on Thursday night at midnight. I actually barbecued some shrimp and some food, some salmon out back. But we did a 20-minute sit-down interview that you saw last week, which was 90.5. And the fun thing about that interview was it was my chance to talk business. I never talk about tariffs or anything like that on the podcast because we're always talking about models and fun things like that. And I didn't want to bring it up unless they actually took effect. But check it out. That was a very interesting show. We talked numbers, we talked business, we talk about Caboose out in Lakewood, Colorado, and how that store is now going to be 100% employee owned. So congratulations to all
Wow.
those wonderful folks that work out there. You guys have got, it's going to be great. Kevin Ruble's an absolutely fantastic person, and I'm absolutely honored to say the fact that he does sponsor the What's Neat show at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. We love you, Kevin. But while you were here, Kevin, I put this Wonder Cutter from Micromark in your hands, and I got you cutting with it. And I've been doing that to a lot of people because I've noticed there's a learning curve to using the tool, but everybody seems to get it the first time because they're gentle with it. And James Regier, I also put it in your hand last week. You were cutting a piece of styrene, but you cut curves in the styrene, which you really can't do with a straight razor blade. You can't scribe 3 or 4 scribes, but with this tool, you were able to do it.
Yeah, it does make cutting curves easier.
It was funny because while you're watching this footage, you can see all the little particulates on top of the styrene jumping around and vibrating because this thing vibrates at 41,000 times per second. You don't put any pressure on the tool. You simply just put the tool on the material and let it do its work.
Is it like an up and down vibrating motion?
I'm going
like
to have you run it tonight.
I think it's more of a circular motion. It seems like you can get really good sweeping curves out of it,
Yeah.
as long as you just keep the same pressure.
Right. Well,
Okay.
I mean, you want minimal pressure on this thing because,
Because it does the work
It
itself.
does the work for you, basically.
Wow.
I opened up the November show talking about it and saying it's a perfect Christmas gift for the guy that's got every tool in the world. But this one's actually very useful. And in fact, I mentioned to him, this would be a great surgical instrument. And
For Halloween?
for real.
Oh,
For real.
okay.
Because
All
because of the cutting, it would cauterize. I think it would cauterize.
Yeah.
So actually, they have a whole division of their company working in that direction with it.
Oh, they do.
I can see
Seriously?
another
Okay.
design model
Yeah.
being made for the professional services of healthcare. So this is not a joke. This is for real. This is one of those tools that it was developed through a crowdfunding account. It was a crowdfunding. Does that make sense? Do I get the word right?
Yeah.
That's how it was developed. Instead of having private investors invest in development of this product, I think it was crowdfunding is how
Wow.
they developed it. So as it goes along, you find a lot of different uses for
Was
something
it
like
actually
this.
invented for medical use?
No,
And
it
then-
wasn't. I believe it started out for the hobby.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
very interesting this week that happened to me. I learned how to use Facebook's, I don't know what you call it. It's like YouTube for Facebook. What's that called? You can talk to people on Facebook and use a camera.
Like FaceTime?
Oh,
Is it called FaceTime?
FaceTime.
I've never done that before.
Yeah.
Jason Thomas got a hold of me the other night. I think it was Monday. And we shot some footage. I actually shot some actual video of him while I was learning how to use this system. And Jason introduced me to his dog, his pet, Brownie, which was really cool. But he shared with me a lot of the products that he likes. He models in large scale, and he showed me his big hauler engine that he's got on the shelf right behind him. And he also shared with me his very first locomotives that he ever had, a Bachmann F7 and an SD9 from Athearn. So it was really interesting to be able to talk with Jason. I've been talking with him on, what's it called on FaceTime when you message somebody? I've been doing that with him for years, but to see him face to face and actually meet him, I mean, call me slow, but it was kind of fun, and I really appreciated that. So thank you very much, Jason Thomas, for sharing that material with me this week. I told you I'd talk about it on the show. And other than that, I think I'm starting to run out of notes. Where are we going to go after this, James?
I believe to Frankie G's.
Yeah, that's a real possibility.
I know, rock and roll. Check it out. Let's look at the table one more time. On the table, I also have these white boxes sitting here. And what this is these are the new scientific structures from Micromark. We're going to build them on the What's Neat show. They're laser cut. Everything's pre-set to literally fall together as we build it. So look forward to that probably in the January's What's Neat. And I think for December, James Regier's doing a segment on how to put those LEDs, Christmas lights on the side of a passenger car.
Nice.
And this project has been kind of fun. I'll be real honest with you. I've been inventing some of these things as I go along. Not really inventing, but learning how to do them. So we'll see if how it turns out in the end. I'm looking forward to that because if this actually turns out like I'm hoping it will, it's one of those things that it'll be.
Sweet.
Nice.
I'm very intrigued now.
I know, it's going to be great. Next week, we got some special guests lined up to be on the show. You're going to look forward to that. I'm not going to say another word about it, except for it's going to be a really fun show next week, rock and roll. And everybody's looking at me and waving, so you know what? Let's end this one. This is going to be the end of 91, the What's Neat This Week show 91 for October 5th, 2019. Best hobby in the world, guys, with the best folks in it.
That's right.
Let's go run some trains.
Yeah.
Right?